How do we honor God? In this session, we'll think a little bit about that and we'll talk about the concept of stewardship. Not so much in how we give money or time or talents, but in the use of our whole life. How do we approach God in our lives? And what kind of practices can help us be more Christ-like in our daily living? We United Methodists have a marvelous gift in the heritage of John Wesley and his teachings. John Wesley pointed out that there were three kinds of grace in the world, that there was something called prevenient grace, whereby each human being has within him or herself a sense of the presence of God, the existence of God, a knowledge of something greater than themselves. This is the initial step. This is the grace that helps us ask the questions, to seek out what it is about God. You know, the world right now is filled with this kind of seeking and looking. All kinds of surveys tell us that there's never been a higher want to experience spirit and spiritual life. And yet, the persons who are seeking that don't often look to the church for it. Well, that's a story for another day. But then the second part of Wesley's threefold grace was justifying grace. Justifying grace was the kind of grace where we realize what Christ has done for us, what the love of God means for us, and how we can be a part of this new life, this new creation, simply through faith as trust. And for many denominations, that's the end of the journey, but not for us. That begins the third step of Wesley's threefold grace, this idea of sanctifying grace. It's the idea that we begin a lifelong journey of faith through which we continually strive to grow closer and to be more Christ-like in all that we say and do. Now, Wesley didn't just leave us hanging out there saying what you need to do is grow throughout your life. Wesley suggested that there were things called the means of grace, that as we participated in certain practices, those means of grace would help us fulfill God's plan for us to becoming perfect in Christian love. The means of grace included many things like prayer, public and private, and worship. It included holy conferencing, as we hope is happening through these sessions as you meet each week. The sharing of the sacraments were parts of the means of grace, that the more we commune together, that the closer we grew in our relationship with God. If this is truly who we are as United Methodists in terms of what we believe and what could truly help a person become a disciple of Jesus Christ, then the task seems to be, how can we in our local churches and at the annual conference level provide resources and training so that we can become resources in return for those seeking to grow spiritually in their lives? What means of grace are being practiced in your local church? What means of grace are being modeled out in our annual conference life together? And how can we go to a world that is full of fear and, in some cases, hopelessness, be purveyors of God's grace in a way that will truly help us transform the world? Well, think about it this week as we continue together to live into the vision.